Hi, I'm Peter Bookman, CEO and founder of guardDog. And today we're talking about rethinking the approach to cybersecurity in a rapidly changing landscape. The way we're doing that is by playing a game. Where's Hackman? Let's find Hackman together. That's a particularly challenging activity for all of us, especially in the real world. And so today we're going to play it without consequences, but perhaps some rewards, particularly if you visit our booth or our website, guard.ai, where we can continue to play this game and also mitigate the real Hackmans in life. So let's talk about this. One of my favorite childhood books is a book many of you might have enjoyed as well, called Where's Waldo, where it's particularly fun and interesting to find Waldo because he's dressed in a very boisterous, loud costume of red and white and stands out in a crowd. So he's pretty easy to find most of the time. And I enjoyed as a young man remembering that sometimes he was harder to find than others. But in general, he's easy to find because he's dressed in this red and white, which is what makes it so fun. But here's the thing. When we talk about Hackman, it's not the same. So as it turns out, Hackman tends to not look like a robber or some scary thief guy with a hoodie. We always portray him as like a black hoodie and mask and anonymous and what have you. But when amongst us, he tends to, or she tends to look a lot like us, impersonate us, look like us, act like us, but steal valuable information from us, sit nearby us, next to us, and we wouldn't even know it. They hide in plain sight, Hackman does. So when it's Bookman versus Hackman, Bookman good, Hackman bad, if only it were that simple. But it's also needing to stay vigilant and consistently looking for and watching for Hackman wherever he might be. So let's play this game together, shall we? Let's talk about healthcare first. In healthcare, it's becoming increasingly complex. It's got all these new elements to it. There's many elements of healthcare, hospitals, networks, homes, and so on and so forth. So it's really important that we find Hackman as fast as we can. So I hope while I've been talking, you might have been able to find already Hackman. Were you able to find him? There he is. Good job if you found him. If not, that's normal. And again, you can always come back and download the content and play the game again, or invite others and play the game together. But here's something interesting that's really fun about Hackman is once we find him, he tends to be easier to find even when hidden. So I would imagine now that we have identified him, we're there. So we talk about 0 and 0 plus. Maybe we can do better by responding faster, by finding faster. Automate finding Hackman. Now let's talk about small businesses. This is similar. It's always getting more complex. It's rapidly evolving. The types of small businesses are evolving. The offices spaces are evolving. Co-working, sharing spaces are evolving, and so on and so forth. So it's that much more important that we find Hackman as fast as we can and respond to Hackman as fast as we can. Did you find him in plain sight? There he is. And again, once you find him, he should be easy to find after that. The challenge is to find him and stop him before he can do any of the damage, or she, that they do by impersonating us and stealing our information or doing any of these things. 60% of small companies go out of business within 6 months of falling victim to a data breach or cyber attack. That is an incredible number and perhaps one of the greatest risks to small businesses everywhere, because if it happens, you're in trouble, we're in trouble. Now let's talk about retail, where lots of places are next to each other. There's different overlapping networks. There's anonymous people everywhere and revolving doors of employees and those kind of things. So it's incredibly difficult to find Hackman before Hackman is able to impact us. So have you found him yet? There he is. And again, once you find him, it's easy to find him again. For data breaches alone, 2020 saw nearly 400 million customer records exposed through attacks on retail companies. That is a huge number of customer records. That's everybody I know and then some. In financial services, this landscape is ever changing and getting more complex. In fintech, We have stuff like digital wallets to contend with that are all over the place. We have branches and work from home and call centers and all kinds of different places involved. So it's really important to identify hackmen, find hackmen, and stop hackmen, respond to hackmen before hackman can do any damage. Did you find him? There he is. I hope you're getting better and better at this. In 2021, the financial services sector saw the largest increase in fraud attempts globally at roughly 150%. That's amazing. The home is one of the most rapidly evolving landscapes in our midst. You know, between smart home concepts, work from home, distributed concepts, the home has become the edge, really. It's the edge of where we're accessing our information, and yet it's also one of these places where we don't know who is watching for hackman. Is it the people in the home? Is it all the members of the home? Is it the corporation or whoever is there? Who's watching for hackman? Who's being vigilant and stopping hackman? It's particularly hard because no matter what the entry point is, in this case coming in through a computer, which is very difficult, as you can see from this, to find even once you have identified a way for hackman to get in. The ways hackman can get in are very diverse and spread still just like a company or enterprise network. So once on the network, hackman can do things, whether it's a visitor or a nearby person or a drive-by person or any of these things. The home is particularly vulnerable to any of these things. A smart home test revealed hackers scanned a network 12,807 times in 1 week and made 2,425 attempts to log into IoT devices. That equates to 14 attempts per hour. That's an amazingly vulnerable place to be. Travel has always been a really interesting place where hackman enjoys exploiting us. It doesn't matter whether it's hotels or wherever else. When we're out and about and we're in shared spaces that share common networks and what have you, this is particularly dangerous. And so in the travel world, did you find him? Right there in the office in the beginning, and yet can access all of these other locations. So let's find hackman before hackman can find us and impact us, wherever he might be. And that, you never know. So once we know, once again, we can find him. But 423 million US travelers have been victims of cyber attack through their business with hotels alone. This is an astounding number, and one that we take approaches to, but these approaches really just are not working. Let's find hackman faster, more efficient, respond to hackman, and be able to work together to do that. Why is it so hard to keep up with hackman? Well, I think many of the cybersecurity professionals here know, and we talk about this a lot. A lot of this comes down to training and what have you, but there's so much to know because of the ever-evolving landscape and complexities with it. Labor, technology, and regulatory costs are through the roof when it comes to qualified cybersecurity professionals, extending our team. It's very difficult to get the talent, it's very difficult to keep the talent, but it's very important to have it. The lag time from finding and fixing vulnerabilities is particularly fun. 0 days is an important concept and kind of fun because someone's going to get exploited, and then we will know how to respond. Finding hackman, if hackman gets to attack successfully somebody, then we can do something about it. And fixing vulnerabilities is something that we need everybody to be able to do. We need more and more people to do and make it easier to do it. So having the knowledge, expertise, and hygiene practices really is part of the training, but we need to make it much simpler for anyone to be able to do that. It is very time consuming, of course. One of the examples of this is the cybersecurity professional versus night watchman kind of concept of, well, if you have a cybersecurity professional who is vigilant, watching with threat intelligence tools or what have you throughout the day, but then who's watching at night while they're sleeping? Do they wake up? Do they get a notification? We need to be able to respond all the time. Response is the important part and the key point, and let's do that as best we can. The other thing is there's so many parties involved with the visibility of this. So many tools, so many members of the team, people themselves. One party doesn't necessarily know the other party. One partner doesn't necessarily know the other partner. Who has all this information is really important. A lot of times we see one partner that farms out to other partners in order to be able to provide a complete solution, leaving limited visibility or siloed visibility. The biggest thing that we talked about a little bit in travel is the weird, unrealistic expectations that really need to change. Like, don't use free or open Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi is very dangerous. Everyone knows that, and yet raise your hand if you have used the public Wi-Fi. So let's look for and avoid Hackman. Let's find Hackman before Hackman can impact us. So the idea here with all of this is to take the fun out of the game and the risk with it, though, by finding Hackman and responding to Hackman before Hackman can impact us. So we want to automate watching for Hackman. We want to automate identifying the exploits that Hackman is using. We want to automate responding to those attempted attacks that Hackman uses. We want to inform the team and every partner and tool and anybody who needs to be informed about the vulnerabilities early to keep Hackman from finding them before we do, of course. We want to have consistent supervised education from external resources, which is a lot easier to do when we simplify it and when we make it so that everyone can know what the attack surface looks like and what they can do about it. So it's no longer kind of a disconnected kind of you should idealistic approach. It's that it's natural. So for autonomous managed detection and response, we can identify and work with the complexities and ever-evolving landscape of all of these other solutions that typically have been prohibitively expensive and complex, like homes, like small businesses and retail locations, mid-sized organizations with some employees working from home, or distributed, or whatever that looks like. Instead of only the largest organizations with massive budgets who currently can afford managed detection and response end to end. So making this cost-effective and easy to manage and bringing autonomous cybersecurity that just works is the key to finding Hackman and responding to Hackman and making it so everyone can do it in all of those circumstances and more. Again, you can visit our virtual booth or our website, guardDog AI, to download more examples of finding Hackman and play the game with friends, family, kids, and what have you, as well as use it for training material for your corporation, your employees, yourself, and to stay vigilant. Working together is the key here, to focus on responding and responding together, regardless of a trade show environment where whether it's virtual or together, we can all work together to identify faster, more efficiently Hackman and what he's doing by subscribing to each other's information, notifying of what's going on, responding concepts and identifying responding concepts like isolation, where we might isolate Hackman himself versus isolating a system that Hackman may have successfully breached. Let's work together to respond in new ways that are faster and more efficient and adjust and adapt. Combining all these resources so that Hackman effectively becomes ineffective. He can't or she cannot do anything. The idea here is to use all the tools. The idea is to make them all simple and work together so that it just works. It just responds. Anyone can seek for, find Hackman, and respond to Hackman. Thank you again. To learn more about finding Hackman and how we can use this autonomous managed detection and response, visit our virtual booth or go to guarddog.ai and get more content that has finding Hackman and looking for finding Hackman so that we can collectively learn to do that better, whether we're using it for training or we're just doing it for fun, give it to our kids and what have you. It will serve us all to be looking for and finding Hackman sooner and faster than a Hackman can actually find and do damage to any one of us.